Oh! Into the season, the comparisons were made between the 2017 Eagles and the version in 2000. Andy Reid's second season, Doug Peterson's second season under Donovan McNabb, second season for Carson Wentz. So at the halfway point of the 2017 campaign, whoa, we're 7-1. Unbelievable. Who would have thought that this team might actually be better than the 2001? So we're going to look at it right now. Philly 500 is here. I am Adrian Fenke. We are the bitter Dingbats. Unfortunately, no show last week, but all your kids are good now. No more strep throat.
Well, they all got strep throat. They're just on medication. So the chances that I get it is probably a little less than it was a couple days ago, although I feel it coming on. But I'm a fighter, I tell you. I'm a fighter. So, we'll see what happens. But this should be a very interesting topic because there's nothing that I like more than to compare history with now. So this should be very, very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into things, so I'll just make an announcement. So if you go to the Green Turtle tonight, it's in Wales. I will be on E-Rock's podcast tonight, Fourth and John. So Jason Ashworth and I will be special guests for the podcast. So buy me a beer. Do it. I'm supposed to do a beer bong tonight. I'm getting baptized, so that's going to be available. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Buy him a beer, please. Buy him a beer. Buy him a couple beers. The guy needs a beer, a couple beers, because he didn't drink that much on Saturday. So
yeah.
he needs a bunch now.
Yeah. I felt the effects of Saturday yesterday during our recap video.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Open up my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell everybody something funny. Yesterday, I had spy planes going over my head because they were interfering with my video. It would break up, and I looked out the window, and a giant white plane with no labels or nothing was going by. Now, you tell me that ain't something. So, yeah, I think it's because I'm watching all these Vegas conspiracy theories about Las Vegas. I think they're tracking me.
All right, let's get into this. So the 2000 team was really known for their defense, and it's fitting that the Eagles had a dominant defensive performance yesterday. So you look at that team back in 2000, I've got some nuggets and some stats. So obviously at the end of the day, it's all about points per game allowed, and the Eagles were fourth in that category, 15.3, 1.18 points per drive. Obviously, they like to get after the quarterback back then, sixth in the NFL with 50 sacks. So you look at the pass defense, they only allowed 11 passing touchdowns on the entire season, which was second in the NFL. 19 interceptions. So they were getting picks, not allowing teams to score. 66.6 passer rating against, that was seventh. 186.9 yards per game, which was seventh. You look at the run defense, if you always remember under Andy Reid and Jim Johnson, the run defense was always you could kind of run the ball on them. 114.4 yards per game, 21st. So the run defense wasn't exactly spectacular, but pass defense, they were able to get after the quarterback, and they forced a lot of turnovers. So that 2000 defense, kind of looking at it to the one now, what are you seeing?
Well, here's what I remember. Now we're talking about the 2000s, so that I believe is McNabb's second year, his first full starting season, right?
Yes.
So I think Corey Simon, if I remember correctly, was the first pick in the draft that year. So he filled in at the defensive tackle position. Then you had like Hugh Douglas, and I'm trying to remember who was on the other side. But the one thing with that defense was they liked to blitz, so they brought pressure. But they had Troy Vincent, they had Bobby Taylor. I think Al Harris was still there.
He was, yeah.
And then you had
their nickel. He was their nickel corner. Think about
that. He was their nickel, and he went on to start in Green Bay for quite a while. He was a starting quality corner. So they could play pretty much everybody, man up. And then you had Dawkins, who had the ability to really play sideline to sideline. He could cover so much space, and then he could come up and play the run. So they were really able to play on the strength of that secondary and blitz and bring pressure, a lot more than I think this defense. I think this defense, they really rely on that front four to get pressure, and even that front seven to help out those corners. Well, with that team, they could literally play man up and bring a lot of people at the quarterback.
Hugh Douglas had 15 sacks. Corey Simon, like you explained, 9.5. He had the other DN spots. They still had Mike Mamula at the time, so he and his 5.5 sacks at the other side. So there you go, Mike Mamula.
Mike Mamula was the guy who I've never seen come closest to getting to the quarterback more than anybody without actually getting there. Brandon Graham was on that path, but this year he's actually getting to the quarterback. He's getting home. So we can't give him that label anymore. But Mike Mamula drove me nuts. I never forgave the Eagles for drafting Mike Mamula because Warren Sapp was there. And that was who I wanted. And I liked the Miami Hurricanes, so I liked Warren Sapp. He reminded me of Jerome Brown. And I think they made a big mistake with that. But that's a whole nother conversation. But, defense was very good. And also their linebackers were really good too. You had Trotter in the middle, right? You had, you had Carlos Emmons.
Yes.
Who came over from Pittsburgh. And then I'm trying to think who the other linebackers.
You had Barry Gardner, yeah. And I think Willie T was already gone. Or he was at the very, very end. He might have been gone by that point.
Yeah. But I remember Carlos Emmons and Trotter. And Trotter was really starting to become like a dominant middle linebacker at that point.
Yeah. Trotter was still young at that point. He might have been in low 20s, I want to say.
Yeah.
So he was coming into his own at that point. Now, the philosophies of the defenses were obviously different because Jim Schwartz, he likes to rush with 4, drop back 7. Normally doesn't like to blitz as much, but has been blitzing more this season. But you look at Jim Johnson's defense, obviously, weren't afraid to send the house, leaving their cornerbacks on an island for an entire game. But they were able to do that, obviously, when you have a Troy Vincent and a Bobby Taylor. It's a lot easier to let your corners out on an island when they're freaking talented like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a big difference. Very different styles, and as far as you were saying, too, about the running game, the Eagles did allow running backs to run on them with that Jim Johnson defense. But everything, once they got inside the 20s, always stopped. He always clamped down then. He was very good at that whole bend and don't break thing. Jim Johnson was great. I love the style of play at Jim Johnson. If I was a coach and I wanted a defensive coordinator, I would look for that kind of style. Personally, I like bringing the blitz. I don't think they bring it enough now, but it's worked for them this year. So,
yeah. All right. So the next conversation we can have here is Carson Wentz in his second season compared to Donovan McNabb, and honestly, it's not close. Obviously, Wentz is playing like an MVP right now. Donovan McNabb back then, second season, it was basically one read. If it wasn't open, you either dumped it off to one of your backs or you took off with the football. That's basically what the offense was.
Yeah, no. And McNabb used to take off a lot more with the ball back then too.
Yeah.
I mean, if everybody, I don't know what the percentage was, but I'm pretty sure it was something like Deuce Staley was like 60% of the offense because he would run the ball and he would catch so many balls out of the backfield. And he was a big weapon out of the backfield. Then you had Chad Lewis. But wide receivers, I mean, McNabb had no help at wide receivers. They didn't really throw long that much. And yeah, he would run a lot and everything was deke and dunk. And they would pretty much play close, play tight games, and then be in it to the end. And then that defense would sit there and win the game for them. So that's how they won a lot of their games.
Yeah.
Carson is doing things McNabb didn't do for 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, just in terms.
Carson is doing things Donovan never did in his career.
Yeah. This kid is on another level right now. I've never seen. I can't remember a second-year quarterback in all of football that has really played like this. I guess Derek Carr had a really good year a few years ago, his second year. Then you had Dan Marino, who had a ridiculous second year. But I can't think of too many second-year guys that are legitimate MVP candidates. Not only legitimate, like candidates, like he's running away with it in my mind.
Yeah.
Actually, you know who I think is close, is second right now behind him? Yes, Deshaun Watson. He's actually second. And why the Browns passed him up too?
The top two guys in the MVP voting, the Browns both passed on both of them.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. But Carson's on another level that, you know, I don't think we've seen as Eagle fans have as a quarterback. I don't think most teams. This is, to me, you're looking at guys. This is Peyton Manning like in my mind, very much so, and the way he makes the guys around him better too. You know, we've talked about how, like, when Aguilar drops it, one of the things Aguilar used to struggle with was he would get down on himself. He'd lose confidence. Every time he's dropped something, Carson has gone right back to him to keep his head in it. So he's really a good leader. And I think that took a while for McNabb, you know, the first few years.
You look at the touchdown passes. I mean, obviously they threw the ball less back then, but Wentz already has 19 touchdowns. McNabb had 21 in his second season. So you look at the ratios: 21 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He led the team with 629 rushing yards. So Deuce Staley got hurt during that year. So he started his first 5 games, then he got hurt, had a Lisfranc injury, and that's when the Eagles, Cecil Martin, Darnell Autry, Stanley Pritchett, they were all, you know, sharing carries. So that running back by committee, once Deuce Staley got hurt, not as good as the one they have now.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even close. It was really, really bad. And one other thing we should say, that offensive line with McNabb, where you had Trey Thomas, Runyon,
yeah,
you know, that line across the board was probably better than what we have right now, based upon Jason Peters getting hurt, and, you know, and the interior. I'm trying to think who was the center then. Bub, maybe, I don't know.
Miller, I think, might have been the center, because I don't think Hank Fraley was there yet.
No, Fraley was I think Fraley came 2 years later. I want to say. So, yeah. But the offensive line was really good. That was a really good.
Who were your guards? You had who? Trying to think of the guards off the top of my head.
I can't think of it offhand.
All right, well, keep going. I'll try and pull up a roster if I can.
But I mean, when you have Runyon was a big free agent signing under Reed, and then you had Trey Thomas. I mean, those were really 2 good tackles, and I think that helped McNabb a lot. I think coming into this year with Peters and Runyon and Lane, they had that, but this Peters injury hurt so much. And you saw that yesterday, how they struggled. So it'll be interesting to see how this line goes, you know, is going forward, because I think Carson took a lot of shots yesterday. I don't think McNabb took even those kind of shots.
Yeah. I think some of it has to do with Carson holding on to the ball too long, but the way it was yesterday, he had no chance. I mean, I don't know how you can blame Carson yesterday. I thought the line was just atrocious. But all right, so the guards on that team: Jermaine Mayberry and John Welborn. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. And Welborn was there for a while, and I think he wanted out. He wanted to trade, or he wanted a new contract. They had a contract and he left. But it was a good offensive line. It was a very good offensive line. So, I mean, that helped a lot. And then you had Chad Lewis, and then you had I believe it was Torrey Small or something like that, and
Warren Small, yeah.
Warren Small and Charles Johnson, yeah. So the receivers were horrendous. They were horrendous.
So basically, it was a very conservative passing game. You know, a lot to the tight ends, a lot to the running backs. I mean, a lot. If you thought the swing pass under Chip Kelly was too much, a lot of swing passes in this offense. You know, unfortunately, it killed him once Deuce Staley got hurt. You know, because he was literally, like you said, he was like 60% of the offense. Not only running the ball, but the way he could catch passes out of the backfield. And so Darnell Autry became the guy out of the backfield. Darnell Autry. They also brought in Chris Warren, if you remember.
From Seattle.
Yeah. So later on in his career, but he got some carries too. So basically, we saw a team this team went 11-5. So you're looking at a team that basically great defense, conservative on offense, tried not turning the ball over, that sort of deal.
Yeah. I believe they went and they lost to the Giants in the playoffs. They couldn't beat the Giants. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that was the big deal the next year when they went out and got James Thrash and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, very interesting to compare these two teams. But I definitely think where you're at right now with this team, with this quarterback, is also a lot more open NFL. I think the NFL teams right now, I don't think there are any big powerhouses that you can say, oh, this team can't the Eagles can't beat this team. This team's too good. You had a couple of those back then. You know what I mean? You had some pretty good teams. So the door is wide open, really, for the Eagles this year, more so than in McNabb's second year.
Yeah.
But the teams are very similar. The one thing, too, I want to say, that team, Andy Reid's team, could run a screen pass. Now, do you remember how many years that was always the best screen pass team in football? Always. And they didn't, and they ran it smoothly, and it was perfect, and it was seamless. I would like to see Doug Peterson start doing that, because there's times where that screen pass is wide open, and when the Eagles do run it, everything looks like it takes a while to get going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you got that 2000 team, which was defensively driven. Now this defense today isn't too shabby themselves, obviously, but the offense is one of the best in the league right now, and it's because of Carson Wentz. And so that's the big difference between the 2017 team is offensively. Not too much of a drop off from 2017 defensively, but definitely an advantage with this offense now. And you look at the weapons now with Nelson Aguilar emerging, Zach Ertz emerging. You have Jeffrey and Wentz in the second season just flinging it. It's unbelievable. They scored. Now, technically, they didn't score 33 points because the defense scored a touchdown yesterday, but they still scored all those points, and we were complaining after the game. That's funny to think about. We were complaining. We were pissed, and they still scored like 27 points.
Yeah, well, because we expect them to play their best every week, and when they didn't, you saw what happens. They struggled a little bit, but look, this was the kind of game that was going to be that. It just was. And I'm happy with the win. I can take the win and move forward. But look, you're not going to always be at your best. You're just not. And you have to be able to win games like this where you don't have everything going your way. Wentz is in a good position with the weapons he has. I want to say Wentz has way more weapons than McNabb had back then. I mean, I want to be clear about that. McNabb did not have the weapons, so the opportunities may not have been the same. It's important to say that, because I know a lot of people are thinking, well, McNabb didn't have any weapons. He didn't. He really had nothing for many, many years, and I think Wentz does. So Wentz is taking advantage of that now, and you're 7-1, and look, you got 8 games left. If you can go 5-3 the rest of the way, that's 12 wins. That's 12 wins. That's my goal right now. 12 wins gets you a bye week.
Yeah. And now I'm getting greedy because I want 13. I want 13 because I'm looking at Seattle, and if you lose to Seattle and you're tied with them at 12-4, guess who's getting the 1 seed? Them.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting greedy. I want 2 losses. I want to kick the shit out of Dallas twice. And I'm assuming we're going to lose to Seattle. So that's 1 loss. Hopefully you only lose 1 more time.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'm accounting for possibly being locked up the last 2 weeks of the year. So our starters are sitting. But Dallas has to go down. Dallas has to go down. These fans are cockroaches. And I am going to do everything I can to drive them nuts the next few weeks because I'm sick and tired of them from yesterday. I heard them telling me that because they beat the 49ers better than we did, that they're somehow better. You stink! And you're going down. I just want to say I am so sick of Dallas. They got to go down. That's like my main goal right now. Dallas.
Obliterate Dallas.
I want Dallas.
Obliterate them. I honestly have a really good feeling about that game in Dallas.
Oh, I do too.
I have a great feeling. Do you know how much revenge they want to exact from last season? Going to Big D and losing the way that they did. The Eagles match up very well with the Cowboys. They always do well against that offensive line. Zeke, we'll see if he can run the football. The couple teams that he does struggle against running the football, it's the Eagles. So if they can't establish a running game and they make Dak Prescott beat you, we're going to kick the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I'm like convinced we are going to blow them out.
Yes, I agree. I think we're going to beat Dallas in Dallas, and it's not even going to be close. And I can't wait. I mean, look, that defense is seriously a wet paper bag. It's a wet paper bag. It's very easy to punch a hole through. And as far as yesterday, this is a team, right, that beat Washington. Washington gave them that game. They gave the game to them. You know why they gave the game to them? It's because the Eagles demoralized the Redskins on Monday night. The Redskins were depressed that they lost Monday, knowing that they can't win the division and they need a wild card. They weren't ready to play. That was the issue. That was the problem. Now, Dallas, they come into Washington. Did you notice the weather? It was raining. Of course, the rain helps Dallas. There was some satanic spells and stuff going on for that game to be the way it was. I'm convinced. Look what happened in Denver when the weather rolled in. The referees, they were apparently aware of this satanic activity, and they called the timeout until the weather passed. Dallas is sneaky. They will do things of the supernatural realm to win. So we got to take them out.
Yeah. Dingbats.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. They might make your Dingbat of the week again.
I get so pissed off about this stinking Cowboys. Hate them.
All right. So comparing the two teams, I think we're pretty much done. It's an interesting comparison because before the season, we would have said the 2000 team was better, and now we're looking at it like we're idiots with Dingbats. Like, how could we have thought that?
Yeah, well, all of this comes back in my mind. It always comes back to the progression of the quarterback. You have a quarterback who we knew would take some steps. You were hoping he would take that step in the second year, but man, he took like leaps and jumped miles because to me, he looks more like a third or a fourth year, what I would expect from him. Maybe fourth year, not in a second year. I mean, it's absurd. So, he, to me, has elevated this whole team, and that's just the way it goes. When you have a quarterback like him, and then the team believes in him, and then the defense believes in him, everybody plays better. Everybody believes in the team. So I really think that that's the crutch of where everything has come from. It's the quarterback.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get into some Markelle Fultz discussion in a few minutes. Obviously, the trade deadline is tomorrow, so we'll get into some things. I know a lot of people are excited about Calvin Johnson and that potential, but I think that's a false thing. I think it's a clickbait thing, and I don't believe it. So I'm not getting my hopes up about that. I've seen a lot of Calvin Johnson, the Philly things, but you know what? It's not going to happen. What do you think?
I don't think it's going to happen either. Look, I love Megatron. I do. But it's very hard for me to believe that the Eagles would acquire him at this stage. It's just hard for me to believe. But let's say the Eagles get him. So he comes in. How long is it going to take him before you get Megatron? He's not going to come in and just get on the field day one and catch 150 yards worth of balls, a couple touchdowns. It's going to take him a while to adjust to the playbook, a while to get on the field and play. I don't know if you're getting what people think they're getting. You know, they're getting the name, but I don't know how much it would help you in the short term. Now, if the Eagles could say, the only way I would do it if I'm the Eagles is if I can get a guarantee from him he'll play next year. If he promises to play all next year, I would do it. I would do something. But whether it can really happen, I don't think it can really happen. I just think it's rumors. I don't think it'll happen. I would be shocked if it did. I would be totally, totally shocked.
So my question for this whole thing would be, if we trade for him, would we have to pay his 7-year, $113 million contract? Would we have to pay that yearly salary? Because if there's a cap hit on Calvin Johnson that's like ridiculous, and he's 32 now, and like you said, we're not getting Megatron. We're getting Calvin Johnson. We don't know how long it's going to take to see Megatron, if it ever exists. He hasn't played. So to think that he's just going to come in here and be the same old Megatron, I think is a bit naive.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what the hook is for his salary. Somebody said to me $15 million this year would have to be picked up. And if that's true, how are you going to afford $15 million?
We don't have that money.
I mean, I just don't see it. I mean, and in truthfulness, that is not the position that scares me right now. I'm not happy with Torrey Smith, but the offense and the receivers can move. We need to do something with this line.
Yeah.
This line is where we have a big problem. I'm not opposed to – look, if the Eagles said today, we got Megatron, I would – yeah, of course I would be excited. But I just don't think it's going to happen. But there is another name floating around out there that I would be interested in, even more so. And I'm going to probably do a video on this later to go into detail of it. But there's a rumor today saying that the Eagles are interested in T.Y. Hilton of the Colts. I would not mind that at all.
I feel like that would take a lot to get him.
Might.
Well, you just talked about the line. My question for you would be, if they got the T.Y. Hilton, can you protect Wentz for 5 seconds so T.Y. can go run a fly route?
Probably not. No, probably not. No, you can't. I mean, look, if we're talking about, and we T.Y. Hilton, Calvin, you're right. They're all good big distractions from the real problem. The problem is we need an offensive line help. And if we're trying to make a run this year, and I'm a firm believer, and I know you are too, that you got to try you got to better this team for the second half of the season. You got to put yourself in a position to make a run. You're 7-1. You don't get to this point every year. The NFL, especially the NFC, is not always this wide open. This is a situation where I think the Eagles have to invest some future assets into helping the now. I definitely agree with that. And the spot to do it is that left tackle position.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, the guy that I wanted, Joe Staley, has an injury. I'll have to look into that a little bit further, but he got a little cox in his face, and now he's hurt. Now, the funny thing is about the game yesterday, and we talked about it in our show, our recap show, Big V wasn't really necessarily the problem yesterday. Sure, he gave up a sack, and he didn't play exactly great, but I thought the right side of the line was the problem. Lane Johnson stunk. He was awful yesterday. He's been bad for a couple weeks now in pass. Yeah. So, you can bring somebody in here, but if Lane Johnson's going to keep playing like that, it's not even going to matter.
No, he wasn't good. I think from the time of his concussion, he's been a little goofy in the head, okay, because he has not been good. And I don't think the interior of the line has been good. I don't think all of them. Now, Big V at left tackle for me, I will not feel comfortable all year, no matter what. I just won't. And it's not all his fault, but if you could bring in a left tackle, you got to do it. Now, I don't know what Joe Staley's injury is, but the way I see it, if you have one eye left, put your helmets on and get a play. You got two eyes, you got one left, get on the field. Unless it's some like orbital bone or something like that.
Well, I think that's what they were saying.
Well, yeah, then he's probably going to be out for like a long time, and then that's not going to help us. But I think the Eagles need to do something on this offensive line. There's just no doubt about it. You know, I don't know what, but
it doesn't even have to be a big name. I feel like it. You have to add some depth. You can't have Taylor Hart as your backup tackle.
Yeah.
You can throw Big V out there and start him each week if you want, whatever. But I'd still want to trade for someone. Now, I don't think there's going to be a drastic move made. I don't think they're going to get a Corey Glenn. I don't think you can swing that with the salary cap. But getting someone like, say, a Sontrell Henderson, which has been a name that has been mentioned, you know, getting someone for depth, and if Big V struggles, say like Isaac Seumalo did, then you can go and try and work the other guy in. So that's what I want to bring in, guys, for depth, and just kind of just keep working it until you find a combination that works. And then hopefully by the time the playoffs start, your line is gelling by then.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. I don't think I'm not expecting some big name move. I think it'll be something minor, but very helpful in the whole depth of the offensive line. Personally, I still would like to see them move Lane Johnson to left tackle, put Big V back at the right tackle. And I was hoping that they would have started with the 49ers. Then you have an AFC opponent, and then you have a bye week. And then by that Dallas game, people are starting to adjust. But I don't think that's going to happen now. So it's going to be – the next 24 hours is very interesting to see what the Eagles do, because I think – they got to do something. They got to do a few things, but they got to go out and do something. I think it would be wrong for them to do nothing at the deadline when you're 7-1. I really do. I think you have to try to help this team out and this offensive lineup.
Yeah. So we'll see. The kind of names that I've mentioned, Kelvin Beachum, Dwayne Brown, Cordy Glenn, those are the guys to watch out for. But again, it's like Cordy Glenn, I believe he's got a big cap number coming up, so next couple of years. So I don't know if you're going to be able to swing that. You know, he's probably the best tackle of the ones that I mentioned right now. But I don't know how they can swing it. And the Bills right now are kind of contending. So that team it's just amazing me this year. The fact that they're 5-2 and they're still trading players, like almost looking to rebuild. I don't know what the hell going on there.
They really screwed all my plans up, because this was supposed to be the day that I got to celebrate the return of Shady McCoy, and they really screwed me up. I mean, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Falcons. I can't figure this team out. I really can't. But as far as Glenn goes, I don't know. What would he would cost them a lot? Wouldn't he cost them?
You'd probably have to give up like a future first and another pick.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do all that, especially if my plan is to put Lane Johnson at left tackle. I mean, everybody forgets that that's what they want to do. That's why they gave Lane Johnson the extension. He's their future left tackle. This is their words, not my words. So if he's going to left tackle, in my opinion, what are we waiting for? Move him over now. I think he can play it. I think he can adjust, and I trust him to adjust more than I trust Big V to play it all year. That's my feeling. So, in my opinion, make a trade or leave or move Lane Johnson.
Yeah. All right. So we'll kind of move on to Markel Fultz and the Sixers now. So the Bitter Dingbats is not just all Eagles talk. So we'll talk a little Sixers here. So they're 2-4 to start the season. You know, they got the win against Dallas. The way I kind of see the team is I think once they figure out how to close, they're going to start winning a lot of games, and they're going to come. And by January last year, that's kind of what happened. So they're starting slow, and now you have the Markelle Fultz situation where he's got some muscle imbalance, and he's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. So what do you think about this whole thing with Fultz?
With Fultz, look, it's just the Sixers. Every year, their first pick gets hurt. Every stinking year. So I almost expect it now, as sad as that is. You know what I mean? I guess I really have been focusing on Ben Simmons. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so impressed with Ben Simmons. But as far as Fultz goes, like, it just, in a way, I'm like glad that it's something wrong with his shoulder, because it means that stinking shot, there's a reason for it. Like, you know what I mean? That shot was so ugly. He just didn't look right. You could tell there was something wrong with him. So you have to take him out. I think they said, a couple weeks, and then they're gonna look at him again. I think you just got to be patient with it. And that's it. I don't feel personally that Fultz was going to come in and be the difference between the Sixers being a playoff contender or not. I think with getting Redick, having Embiid healthy, and then letting Ben Simmons continue to do what he's doing, I think those are the things that are going to determine whether this team is a playoff team or not. So I just take it slow with Fultz, let him get rested, let him be 100%, and then come back when he's ready. It sucks, though. It definitely sucks, and it feels like we're cursed. But, I mean, look, at least this isn't – he's out for the year. I mean, Embiid, he has to have foot surgery. Ben Simmons, he has to have foot surgery. At least he's out, and he might come back this year. I guess that's how I'm looking at it. But it just sounds like a weird – like, the name of the injury was like, what does that even mean? Like a muscle imbalance? What does that even mean? It's a weird diagnosis.
Yeah. You know, just watching him play, you could tell he wasn't right. And I was even arguing with people that were throwing out the bus word already. I'm like, wow, like, I'm like thinking to myself, there's clearly something wrong. I watched him at Washington. I study all the players. I know that what he's doing right now isn't right. He would pull up a lot on his jump shot. He shot threes at Washington. He's not even wanting to shoot at the NBA level right now. It wasn't even like that in the summer league.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In the summer league, he looked completely different than he looks right now. Not even looks like the same guy at all. Yeah. So to me, it's not. There's clearly something wrong. I just don't understand why it took them this long to figure that out. That's what concerns me more. I mean, I could tell the first game they played, I was like, something's wrong with this guy. I wish they would have known this earlier, and then he would have been maybe more ahead of where he is now. But what are you going to do? And let me tell you, that Houston game the other day, that was brutal. When they lost that was so brutal. I'm still, like, bothered by that. I know they beat Dallas, but I was so excited. I didn't get to watch it live. I texted you. I was talking to you. Like, I'm getting ready to watch it. I was texting you telling you I'm going to watch again. And then to lose that way, it was horrible. So closing games is something that this team definitely has to learn to do. But, look, they get revenge tonight. So I look forward to it.
Yeah. Well, in that Houston game, the final 3 minutes and 5 seconds, they had 5 possessions, 3 turnovers. J.J. Redick missed a couple jumpers. And every shot or every possession was just a struggle. And they had Ben Simmons trying to isolate him when they should have isolated Joel Embiid. If you want a go-to guy late, it should be Embiid. So Brett Brown has to do a little bit better in his late game play calling, I believe. So that was a struggle of his to start the season last year. And then the Sixers got better as the year went along. So hopefully that'll happen again. I mean, I'm not worried about the Sixers because I see them, opening up an 8-point advantage against Houston with 3 minutes to go. That's a plus right there. I view that as a positive. Unfortunately, you weren't able to close. So you let the guy come in at 2 a.m. and let him steal your girl. That's what you did.
And you don't let guys steal your girls, all right? That don't happen. Okay, that don't happen.
Can't let that.
No, that you can't let happen. And all you boys out there, you don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. Now, also, we got to talk about Ben Simmons. Because when we talk about this team, and we talk about this kid, remember, he can't shoot. We don't know what kind of player he's going to be. You know, maybe he's not the best guy to take number one in the world. This kid is everything, dude. This kid is stud. He is so fun to watch. I mean, I couldn't be more happy. Especially, I think the combination of him and Embiid for a long time is so. The Sixers are going to be one of the most exciting teams for a long, long time.
And Ben Simmons, what he can do without a jump shot too. He doesn't even have a jump shot yet. So he can drive from the wings effortlessly. It doesn't matter. You can know the drive is coming. He'll still get by you. That's how good he is.
I know.
And then you can post him up too. So it's not like his options are limited on the offensive side of the floor. So you got him in transition. You can score buckets in the half court setting. Just let him drive along the wings. He can either go all the way to the 10 or kick it out for a 3-pointer, and then you can post him up. So he can score in all different varieties. And every night he's been threatening for a triple-double.
I know. He's something. He is fun to watch. Look, you know, basketball's not like football. It's not 16 games. It's a long, long season. So I think we just have to be patient and let these guys play. They're going to lose those games that they're going to lose. And I think by second half, like you were saying, like when they get to January, February, I think they'll start to win games and they'll come along. I still think they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Eastern Conference isn't that good. So I believe, you know, Vegas before the season, I believe the over-under for the Sixers was like 41 wins or something. So the fact that it wasn't that high should tell you guys something, that, you know, it does take time for the cohesion to build. Just because there's stars galore in this team, when in reference of Embiid and Simmons, doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. I mean, look at the Timberwolves last year. The Timberwolves have a team that was very similarly built to what we have right now last year with their young stars, and they weren't able to make playoffs. So fast forward now to this season, you know, we're kind of seeing some growing pains, and that's expected. So don't get all negative and think this team isn't going anywhere. No, it's 6 games in, they're 2-4. It doesn't mean they can't turn it around. And this Eastern Conference is so bad, I expect the Sixers to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to be the interview guy.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask you a question. So, Adrian, why the hell can't the Sixers trade Jahlil Okafor?
Nobody wants him.
but he's lost weight. He actually looks pretty good.
You know, that whole situation, man. He went vegan and he's not even playing. That's terrible. I would not be able to give up cheeseburgers and ribs for 6 months only to not play basketball.
I know, seriously. Oh my gosh, dude, it's a shame they can't play him more, and then they can't trade him even more. But look, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I thought he looked good in preseason. I thought that he would get more playing time than he has. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. That's why I had to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he's not playing enough to get traded. You know, he can't even you can't get anything for him. I don't know. I mean, he's not playing.
Yeah.
How can you up your trade value if you're not playing?
I don't know, and I think he should be playing more.
I agree.
I don't understand.
Well, I mean, like, I know we just made fun of him. Like, there is actually some talent there in a half court setting. You give him the ball on the block, he can work it. But you know, the way that the Eagles, the way that the Sixers are, and their offensive style and what they want to play, they want to go up and down the floor. And Ja, that's why he got so lean and trim, so he kind of play that style. But that's not really what he wants to play. He wants to, you know, be that guy to bang on the block and you know, ISO on the high post. So that's the kind of game he wants to play, but the Sixers don't want to play that game.
No, they don't. And I was so impressed with him. I actually saw Jahlil Okafor make a block. He actually played defense this year. And it was like in the 2 minutes of playtime that he got. So I was like, put him out there more. But they don't. I think that they're never going to get any value for him. It's just not going to happen if he doesn't play and build up some value by playing. And when Embiid comes out and is on a minute restriction, I would think you would put him out because he can be a legitimate scorer. He's a legitimate scorer. So I don't get it. I don't understand that.
The Sixers have severely mismanaged this.
Yeah, so I would say so. Yeah.
All right, we'll do Dingbat of the week now, and then we'll kind of hop out. So we're 45 minutes in, so it's funny. We're talking about how we might struggle with this show, and well, we're 45 minutes in.
No, we could just keep talking about all day long.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, Dingbat of the week. Who is it?
It's Dingbats.
Dingbats.
Now I did a bedtime story last night. I like to do bedtime stories a couple times a week for them boys, right? They like to call themselves them boys, but they're them boys. Be men, don't be boys. And the last part of the poem or the story, it said, I know you're watching this hat. Don't be a dingbat. The Dallas Cowboy fans are my dingbats of the week because they beat the 49ers and they automatically start talking crap. Then they come back the next week and blame us for talking crap about beating the 49ers when we're the team that's 7-1. So they're my dingbats of the week.
Yeah. Mine is Yasiel Puig. Now there's 2 more games of the World Series left, and God forbid he misses one of them from getting a disease from licking his bat. So this guy is a dingbat for licking his bat. So whenever – I don't know if you guys have been watching the World Series. I mean, obviously it's been one of the best World Series of all time, if not the best. Last night's game might have been the best game of all time. My God, what a game, 13-12. But Yasiel Puig likes to lick his bat a lot. And I like his semantics is just something else, man. Yasiel Puig. He gets my dingbat of the week.
What does he do when he show us what he does?
Well, what he'll do, he'll hit a foul ball. He'll hit a foul ball, and if he hits the foul ball like real nice, he'll do like a little shimmy. I can't show the shimmy. There's not enough space back here, but he'll do a little shimmy, and then he licks his bat.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
he's looking at it. What's he doing?
I know. Oh wait. We got a dingbat. We got one of the Cowboy dingbats of the week in the live stream.
Oh no!
And call him out. Dale flipping burgers. Stop flipping burgers. You better not run away from me. You better be there when we beat your team's butt. You come in my stream, you talk all that Dallas crap. You better not run away when we beat you. I want to see you. You know where to find me because we're going to beat your butts. Don't you run from me. Don't you run from me. Dale flipping burgers. Stop flipping the burgers and don't you run from me. When we beat you, you better show up. You better show up when we beat you.
Well, when we beat him, he's going to not flip burgers. He's going to flip flop and be on the negative side of the Cowboys ledger again.
That's right. That's right. I know you, Dale flipping burgers. You're all right. You're okay with me. I'm okay with you, but I'll have
to check out the chat. I didn't check out the.
I just put it on my phone, and he's on there. Dale flipping burgers. He was there talking all this crap. Look, dude, you're all right with me. No, not the person, but you better show up when we beat you because we're going to beat you. I know you guys. You guys run away. We'll never see you again. I'm looking for you. Had to say.
Yeah, there it is. All right. As for me, that's it. Right? That's it. No more.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the show.
That's it.
Dingbats. That's the show this week. We're done.
Don't be dingbats like us.
All right. Well, with that being said, then that's Philly 500. I am Adrian Fedq. Take care, guys. Peace out. Don't be a dingbat.
Don't be a dingbat.